First lesson today is about the idea of dummy links. Dummy links are sometimes needed in a precedence network to correctly represent the relationships. The best way to represent why we need a dummy link is with this example here. This is in purple, so you don't need to get this down. I'm demonstrating it to show you that our current knowledge has limits to it. Okay, so this is going to be wrong. If we do what we did in last lesson to draw the network of this, I've drawn a start node. Which of the tasks in the table has no prerequisites? A and B. So they're going to be drawn coming out of the start node. Then you've got C and D. And this is where the problem arises. Our powers, our abilities right now only allow us to do this. C, D, and then they're not prerequisites of anything, so we would write end. Our current abilities would make us draw that. How is that wrong? Sorry, say it louder. Yeah, so this network, with what I've taught you so far, is incorrectly telling you that C requires B as well. Why? Because these two arrows A and B combine into C, which is not right, because the table is indicating that C only needs A, right? So this network incorrectly suggests that task C has both prerequisites A and B, which is not the case. To correct this, we need a dummy link, all right? So this is where your notes come. Dummy links work according to the following rules. We use dummy links when there's multiple tasks that share some prerequisites, but they're not exactly the same. Dummy link is drawn as a dotted arrow. It has no label and no duration. And what you do, this is how you draw the dummy link. You draw it from the end of the shared prerequisite to the start of the task that has other prerequisites. Can you get that explanation of dummy links down? It is not in your book. I'd never done this maths before I started teaching this subject. So I had to make up the rule myself that always works. So please get that down. Next week, I'll try to remember to bring my maths book when I was trying to learn this so that you feel okay if it's not clicking straight away, because I had to learn it myself and there was whole pages that I crossed out and started over and be like, what the heck is this maths? Another reminder, 31st of August, 60% off all Domino's menu. It's a good deal.
That's the day that if you go into IKEA with pajamas, you get a free breakfast.
You can be, wow, I didn't know that, thank you.
It's been all over the IKEA.
Wow, free breakfast, thank you.
You'd
be set for that whole day and then the next month. Domino's is going to get hammered that day. I'll bring a U-tin. Fill it up with pizza. Petrol's cheap, 163. Get it all top. All right, couple. Let's say 30 seconds. You get that down, and I want to demonstrate this. Jerry cans are dangerous. Because the vapors will come out. They could explode in your shed. What did you just... That is literally on this video right now. So, when do you use a dummy link? It's when multiple tasks share some prerequisites, but they're not exactly the same. A dummy link you draw as a dotted arrow. It has no label and it's no duration. And the rule of how you draw it, it comes from the end of the shared prerequisite to the start of the task that has other prerequisites. Now you're going, what? WTF? How does that work? Let's fix the incorrect network. So we're going to, now that it's in blue, we're going to do it properly now. So the start of it doesn't change. And in purple, I've got my thinking process. So now, whenever you're asked to draw a network, this is how you should think about it. Are there any shared prerequisites here? Which letter do you see pop up more than once in that column? A. So therefore, there are shared prerequisites. Yes. Are the shared prerequisites exactly the same? One of them is A, and one of them is AB. So no. Therefore, is a dummy link needed? Yes. You wouldn't need a dummy link if it was AB and AB. Dummy link's not needed. Dummy link's needed here because you share A, but one of them is AB, the other one is just A by itself. What is the shared prerequisite? Is it A or is it B? A is the shared one. Which task has the other prerequisite? Good. So I would suggest to you, draw the dummy link connection in your table to remind you. So now we go back to that rule that I established. The dummy link is drawn from the end of the shared prerequisite. So you just told me that the shared prerequisite was A. So from the end of the shared prerequisite to the start of the task with the other prerequisites. And you again told me that the task with the other prerequisites was D. So I'm going to need a dotted line going from A to D. That's like my working out for this network. So let's try to draw it now. Do A and B have prerequisites? So they're going to come out of the start. What's the only thing that C requires? A. So I will draw C coming out of A. What does D require? Both? A and B. And what have I drawn in a dotted line on the side of the table? There's going to be a dotted line going from A to where? To D. So I'm going to go from the end of the shared prerequisite, A, down to here. Why? Because that is going to be the start of D. Actually, I'm not quite right. That's the right answer, but I wouldn't have known that yet. D. Are C and D prerequisites of anything?
The end.
Sorry?
The end.
The end, okay? They don't come up as prerequisites, so therefore you decide that they become the end of the network. So that will join up like I initially did, and that will be the end. Now let's review. Does this correctly do the prerequisites? Do A and B have any prerequisites? No, so they come out of the start. Does C only come out of A in this diagram? Yes. Does D get B and A? D comes directly out of B, but how does D get A? Through the dummy link. Okay? Can you please get that example down? That is how you deal with dummy links. I'll give you like a few minutes. If you want to get the thinking process down, that's fine. Just remember you don't get a cheat sheet for this. You just have to remember and grind the practice. We're going to do a harder dummy link practice after this as well, but get that first initial one down, please. Yep. You'll see in the next example. You can chat a little bit, don't say anything sketchy or names because it's recording still. I want to do a second example. After school, make sure you don't hang out with any Seaview kids. There's an outbreak of chicken pox there. 123 kids. That's like 10% of their school. What are they doing? So they just go to the year 12 area and just make out. Oh. If you've had vaccination, it should be alright. A few more minutes to get that example and the thinking down, and then I'm going to do a harder dummy link example. Then I'll leave you alone for 40 minutes. Huh? 182? I want to see this. That's right. So I'm going to have a heart attack if I move that. You'll have to catch it up after. All right, let's do another example. Harder one. So our friend over there was asking, what do we do if there's shared ones? Can we review our thinking? You're being asked to draw a precedence network. I have a table here. I'm going to look down. Is there a shared prerequisite here? Which one? A and B. So I'm going to have a dummy link. But it's a little more complex than that, because here, are the prerequisites of D and E, are they exactly the same? Yes. So there's not going to need to be a dummy link for D and E. It's just the transition from C. It's C where the dummy link's going to happen, okay? So what is the shared prerequisite? It's A, like you said. So the dummy link's going to go from the end of the shared prerequisite, so A, to the start of the tasks that have other prerequisites. What are those tasks that have other prerequisites? D and E. Good. So there's going to be a dummy link from A going into wherever D and E come out of. So let's draw it. Which tasks have no prerequisites? A and B. So where are they going to come out of? Start. I don't know if they're joining yet, so I'm just going to draw them. You can correct after. C. What's the only prerequisite of C? So C is definitely going to come out of A. I don't need to worry about where it's come out of the dotted line, all right? D and E, what do they require? A and B. How are they going to get A, though? We've drawn it on the left of the table. They're going to get it through the dummy link. So A, down to here. And what's going to come out of this node here? D and E. I don't know the direction. I'm just drawing them. So we've got D, E. What does F require? C and D. C and D currently connected? No? So in your paper, I'm not going to mark you down if you do this and cross it out, but if you have time, erase it. All right? C and D. So F is going to come out of the end of C and D. Now I've got this weird looking network. That's fine. I'm marking you on connections, not how fancy it looks. Is F a prerequisite of anything in that table? Yeah. Yep. And is E a prerequisite of anything? Does it appear in the column? No. So they're going to join to the end. So correction again. Cross that out. And so does that answer your slightly more complicated question about dummy links? Just follow the rule. All right? Give you some time to get that. I'm going to stop recording now.